In the eerie fall of 1986, our group of friends ventured into a haunted attraction that would forever alter our lives. This unsettling adventure took place just outside the small town of Ashton, Pennsylvania, amidst the rural expanse of the countryside. Our story began in mid-October with the air thick with anticipation of Halloween and ended with a terrifying escape from a carnival that was far more than just a show. Personally, I've never been a fan of haunted houses. Something about them always felt a bit too real, a bit too twisted, but when my friends unanimously voted to go, I knew I'd be tagging along. Our group included 6 of us, my roommates Ethan and Luke, and our friends Taylor, Maddie, and Brooke. We'd all grown close over the past few years. Ethan and Luke, always the jokers, were the life of the party, with Taylor and Maddie egging them on. Brooke, however, was my anchor, kind-hearted, cheerful, and undeniably attractive. She was the one person I felt truly comfortable with, even if I was firmly planted in the friend zone. The drive took us far from civilization, and we arrived at a gravel lot surrounded by a flimsy fence and caution tape. The lack of cars seemed odd for a Friday night so close to Halloween, but we brushed it off. At the entrance, a dilapidated sign read admission only $8. A grimy, unpleasant man took our money without a word and disappeared into the shadows, never to return with our change. Shrugging off the loss, we ventured down a dark, winding path lined with trees. Ethan and Luke took the opportunity to scare Taylor and Maddie, who pretended to be terrified. Brooke walked beside me, bumping my shoulder playfully. Nervous, she teased. Terrified, I responded with a laugh. As we neared the circus tent, Brooke confided that her father used to drag her to these attractions, enjoying her fear. Her relationship with him had been strained, filled with neglect and cruelty. I hated that someone so kind had such painful memories. Did you ever enjoy them? I asked gently. Not really, she admitted. It was never fun for me. We reached the tent, where a clown mannequin sprayed green slime on Luke and Taylor. While Luke laughed, Taylor was less amused. Inside the tent, we were greeted by a macabre display of stacked cages filled with disturbing props and animals. A young woman, bloodied and bound, called for help from one of the cages. Her cries were so convincing that they made us uneasy, but Luke and Taylor heckled her, further adding to the discomfort. Next, we entered a room with 3 corridors. A clown in full makeup jumped out, urging us to split up. Brooke stayed close to me, which gave me a boost of confidence. The others chose their paths, laughing and screaming as they went. Our corridor led us to an outdoor scene where witches were performing a seance. They turned to us, their eyes glinting in the dim light, and gently guided Brooke to the center of their circle, chanting ominously. Suddenly, they threw live spiders at her. Brooke screamed and ran to me, brushing off the spiders in a panic. One witch even shoved a spider into Brooke's mouth, making her gag and vomit. We hurried through a newly opened door, which led to a room with a spinning straw dummy on a target. Skeletal Barker's voice urged us to hit the dummy's head to proceed. Brooke grabbed a knife and threw it, but hit the dummy's chest. Frustrated, I noticed a revolver drop from the ceiling. With a deep breath, I aimed and fired, hitting the dummy's head and opening the door. In the final room, we found Maddie on the floor, crying and covered in blood. This place, it's real, she sobbed. They took Ethan and Taylor. Panic surged through me as Brooke and I helped Maddie to her feet. Her leg was broken, the bone visibly protruding. Who did this? I asked, terrified. A massive figure emerged from the shadows, dragging Luke's lifeless body. The creature, Abe the ape, snarled and retreated into the darkness with a sickening crunching sound. Seizing the moment, we bolted for the exit, carrying Maddie as best we could. We stumbled into a brightly lit room filled with clowns in surgical attire. A nurse clown approached us with a sinister smile. Looks like you need some help, she said in a twistedly cheerful voice. Stay away, I yelled, but the clowns grabbed Maddie, throwing her onto a nearby table. They stripped her down, ignoring her screams, and replaced her clothes with a filthy hospital gown. The nurse clown wielded a massive mallet labeled flatliner. Maddie's desperate flailing was in vain as the clowns pulled her limbs in different directions. The horrifying crunch of bones and the sound of tearing flesh were almost too much to bear. The nurse brought the mallet down, silencing Maddie's screams forever. Brooke and I backed away, tears streaming down our faces. We spotted a gasoline canister and a dangling wire. Desperate, I grabbed the canister and poured the gasoline on the ground, using the wire to ignite it. The flames erupted, creating a barrier between us and the clowns. "Run," I shouted to Brooke, and we fled through the burning tent. We reached the outdoor area where the witch's circle was now empty. "Go into the woods and don't stop until you find help," I told Brooke. She hesitated, begging me to come with her, but I knew I had to distract the clowns. Reluctantly, she ran towards the trees. Just as she crossed the witch's circle, she collapsed, screaming in agony. I watched in horror as thousands of glowing spiders emerged from her mouth. The witches, chanting malevolently, surrounded her. I charged at the nearest witch, knocking her to the ground, but the others ignored me, focused on their dark ritual. I scooped up Brooke's limp body and ran towards the distant lights of a gas station. Her faint breathing gave me hope. We reached the station, and I frantically called for an ambulance and the police. Brooke was rushed to the hospital, where she slowly recovered, the toxins from the spiders gradually fading from her system. Later, the police found the remains of our friends. Ethan and Taylor were missing, presumed dead. Taylor was found alive but traumatized, chained in a cage with smeared clown makeup on her face. I identified Luke's mangled body and what was left of Maddie. The carnival was a nightmare come to life. 4 years have passed since that night. Brooke and I are now engaged, our bond forged in the fire of that horrific experience. I share our story now as a warning: beware of places that seem too terrifying to be real. Sometimes the true horrors are hidden behind the mask of entertainment.